Excited to be here and share with you what we're doing at Raytheon in kind of across the board in VR technologies and how we're leveraging that in the manufacturing environment. So just wanted to kind of start off with to quickly level set things. You can see some of the metrics on Raytheon. At the heart of our company, we're really a technology innovator in the aerospace and defense industry. We are on a mission. We are on a mission to protect and defend and bring our soldiers home. And as you see in the first image, on the slide, we actually celebrate what we call Red Fridays. This shirt that this gentleman is wearing is actually sold in our team stores. And every Friday, we encourage employees to wear those shirts and remind us of exactly why we come to work every day. We also invest heavily in creating the pipeline of future engineers and future technologists in the industry. In the second picture, you can see one of our immersive design centers in Arizona. Here we're doing a STEM event where we're bringing a lot of the local high school and middle school students. And in stereoscopic 3D, we're doing an event called Where in the World. And so we put glasses on and we fly through Google Earth and we actually have the kids try and guess what city they're looking at based on the landmarks that they see in 3D. The third image you see is our Patriot radar system. This is actually the foundation for integrated air and missile defense across 16 nations. So we are a defense company. We've got international footprint. We've got tons of cybersecurity restrictions and XM restrictions, and yet we are still able to deploy virtual reality and augmented reality across the company. And like the panel said earlier, it is all about targeting, very targeted implementation. So we don't have huge margins like we have in the commercial industry. We are very selective on understanding our burning platforms and our use cases and exactly where the technology inserts. I'm here today to talk about virtual reality training in our manufacturing environment, but I just wanted to throw this up and kind of show you that we are playing in the AR and VR world across our whole product life cycle. So in the three pictures across the top, those are our large-scale visualization centers where we have cave-like systems or large 3D systems. We use, like is in the first picture, we engage early on with our customer to do mission analysis and threat analysis and wargaming and operational simulations and those kinds of things. In the middle picture, we do hardcore design and design for manufacturing and maturation of hardware. In the third picture, we bring in motion capture and some of other technology like that to do ergonomics assessment, factory layouts, integration of new hardware into the product lines. And we connect all those centers together. So we have 12 visualization centers across our company that we're able to network together. We just talked about people flying across the country. We've been really successful at keeping people in their homeroom areas and being able to connect them together virtually, not via VTC and not via Skype, but really around large-scale visualization. In the middle row, more kind of VR applications. The first picture in the middle row is an example of where we're leveraging virtual reality in a training environment. A big piece of what we do is training our warfighters, and so we're bringing and leveraging that technology to give people a feel for what it's like to fire a weapon, to load a weapon, to be in an unsafe environment virtually. The middle picture, we do a lot of laser scanning, large-scale terrestrial and photogrammetry type laser scanning. We do handheld scanning as well. We use that to model and then redesign and integrate new products into our factories. A lot of that we pull into the headsets as well. And the last picture in the middle row, we'll talk more about this in a minute, but we're actually standing up our first kind of Disneyland virtual reality room where you can come in and put a headset on and tour and participate in some of these virtual reality environments. Across the bottom, AR, we've played less in the AR environment just because of the nature of where the technology is at, but the bottom left picture is a project that we're working now to have remote technical assistance capability both in our factories and out in the field space. And so it's having an operator or an assembler or a warfighter in the field or in a factory that has a question and be able to connect back remotely to a technical expert via the RealWear headset and the LibreStream software. And then the last picture is kind of, again, back to that wargaming and operational analysis environment in a HoloLens. So we're looking, we're playing, we're trying to figure out how all this technology fits in with who we are and what our employees need. At the end of the day, today, really wanted to kind of focus on what we're doing in the area of virtual training. So I've heard this all this week before, all these situations. I've got an aging workforce. I have a hard time getting hardware kits and trainers available, getting it all out on the floor, being able to train my folks and retain the knowledge. And for us, ton of tribal knowledge, ton of manufacturing experience and expertise that's in people's heads. It's not in my work instruction or any of my manufacturing data. So how do I get what's in somebody's head and capture it before they walk out the door and transfer that to my next generation of operators and assemblers and testers? And so that's kind of what we struggle with. Again, for us, low volume is building 4 units a year. High volume is maybe building 50 or 100 units a month. So we are not a high volume company. We are complex and low rate. And so I don't have a lot of hardware available, don't have access to a lot of equipment kind of readily. And so it lends itself very nicely to how do I supplement that with virtual reality training? And so what we've seen at Raytheon here is virtual reality obviously gives us access to 24/7 training. I don't have to wait for the operator, the trainer, the hardware, the test equipment, everything to be a perfect environment. I can have access to it 24/7. I'm not going to read the bullets, but you can kind of see where we're going with this. So we saw the benefit of doing it virtually. There's really 2 ways you can tackle training in a virtual environment. I put on a headset, I'm going to lock myself out from the real world. In my headset, I can either play the video game, I can be in the model-based, simulated, Unity or Unreal-based kind of environment and play the video game, or I can find a way to take this real-world environment and put it in a headset. And we were looking at what was going on, let me get my videos all going here, in the consumer industry around professional sports and in entertainment in general. So today, the National Football League and the NBA, and it's actually even extended beyond there, sells virtual reality passes. So for $7, you can buy a virtual reality pass, you can connect, my boys connect through our PlayStation, put on a headset, and they can sit down on the couch and be live in a 3D 360 environment, but it's not the video game, it's this photorealistic, it's this real world environment. And what they've done is they've just taken these 3D 360 cameras, which you see in the top center, and put them all over the stadium. And so at kickoff, they can be standing on the 50-yard line, and as the team marches down to score in the north end zone, they jump to the camera that's in the north end zone, and they can be sitting on the upright and watch the extra point go over their head. They maneuver themselves around the field, and I can hear them laughing on the couch and swapping the headset, but they can be on the field for $6, and I don't have to drive and park and deal with the concession stands. Same thing, you can be on stage with Taylor Swift while you're sitting on your couch. So this 3D 360 technology really gives us the ability to put ourselves into this photoreal environment without having to go there. We're seeing it happen also. In fact, the picture on the top right, I went to the UPS presentation yesterday and saw that. So it's pulling out into industry in terms of training. The video on the bottom left is at Chipotle. The video on the bottom right is at Walmart. Again, taking this photorealistic environment and creating this interactive training solution, whether it's in a classroom, whether we put it in a factory, wherever we go with it, it's kind of bringing the real world into a headset. And what we've seen on a side note is that there is significantly higher adoption of the photorealistic environment than the video game environment. There is less tendency to feel motion sickness or to feel disconnected. That photorealistic environment really kind of puts you in that environment. So we thought we need to be doing this in our factories. I need to be able to have someone put a headset on and be in the middle of a manufacturing environment, witnessing and having access to the data surrounding our detailed manufacturing and assembly process. And so a couple of pictures I'll walk you through. Parts of these images are blurry. I apologize, but obviously we're protecting the hardware that we're building, so wherever there's hardware, it's kind of blurred a little bit. So you see in the top left image, we've taken these 360 3D cameras and put them around the manufacturing floor. So they're behind the operator on tripods. In the picture on the top right, we've got them hanging down from the ceilings or from support structures. We've got them kind of on the back side of the workstation. And the gentleman on the top left, he actually has point of view glasses on that are actually a recording device. So I've got 6 or 8 cameras all around this environment, and now as the operator is putting hardware together, I'm capturing it from all these different perspectives. And when I jump into the headset, when I take all these videos and I stitch them together to create one master video and I put it into a headset, I now, just like the football game, can move myself around. So I might be looking over the operator while they're doing a portion of the assembly, but if they bend down to work underneath something, I can jump to their point of view glasses, so as they bend to look, I can look with them. I can maneuver myself around, so I can interact with this environment. In addition to just being able to interact with the different camera positions in the environment and then truly capture the best bird's eye view of what's going on, I also have the ability to bring in other supplementary information. So I bring in work instructions. I bring in images of damaged hardware, of non-compliant hardware, of stuff that's out of spec. Mixing adhesives is a big problem for us, and so I can supplement after the fact with videos of good adhesive and bad adhesive, things to look out for, what air bubbles look like, all those kinds of things. The bottom right picture, you kind of see a picture-in-picture or a video embedded inside of a video. So in that case, the operator is building and the main picture is looking over her shoulder, but where the red circle and the arrow is, I've jumped to the camera that's a top-down position. So I can actually be standing right over her like I'm standing on her workstation and looking directly down when she's doing detailed wire harnessing or detailed soldering or something like that, where I really want to kind of be standing over her. So we have the ability to bring in all of this other supplementary information into that environment. We can even bring in testing. So if I want to have the operator watch a portion of the process and I want to stop and ask them questions, I can score them and time them, and I can collect metrics on all of that. So that's kind of how we're kind of creating this environment in the headset of how do I really see what's going on. The last piece of it is the audio. We also bring in the ability to now sit down after the fact with our assembly experts and record all that detailed tribal knowledge, all of the details that aren't in the work instructions. We used to use 8 zip ties, but now we only use 3, and here's why. And we used to use this tool, but we upgraded it to this tool. Kind of all that tribal knowledge. So now I've got a new operator in a headset. They're watching the assembly. They can reference their work instructions. They can flip through the work instructions. The work instructions and the videos are tied together. So if I jump to op 60 in the video, my work instructions jump to op 60. My supplementary data jumps to op 60. And I hear the experts telling me all the details of how this assembly comes together. So that's kind of the environment that we've created. Again, it was really hard for me to go find a video that I could get publicly released. So this is an example of one of our automated crimping stations. It'll just give you a feel for what it looks like to be in that environment. So this video is going to loop, but it'll show you the ability to pull up supplementary data, additional text, or additional work instructions. You can see we're going to jump to this next camera position, and we're going to jump to the next camera position after that. And so I can move myself around the outside of this crimp station in order to see it from different angles, and then I can come in and supplement it with other additional information. So where this has been valuable for us, this has been valuable for us as we take programs that are transitioning from development into production, where I maybe have immature work instructions, I don't have all my tooling and fixturing done, and I don't want to have a manufacturing person standing over the shoulder of a PhD at 10 o'clock at night while they're assembling a prototype hardware. I can come in and I can capture the build process as it exists today, and then I have that documentation that I can take offline, and I can use it after the fact to go look at tooling and fixturing, integration into the factory, updating work instructions, any of those kind of manufacturing tools that I'm looking at. We're also using it for ramping, for programs that we don't have enough hardware and enough trainers on the floor to ramp fast enough to recover. We're using it for, I mentioned the Patriots in 16 different nations. So we do a ton of international work, and more of our portions of our integration and testing is being done in our partners' countries in-house. And so more and more training is going outside. So now I've got cultural differences and language barriers, and I can now take this kind of embedded training and see our factory in the States and be able to replicate that testing or that assembly overseas. So kind of all those different scenarios. At the end of the day, what we realize is this is much, much more than just recording video and throwing it into an HTC Vive or whatever your headset is. There's kind of really a process, and in all honesty, recording the video is the easiest part. It's everything that happens after the fact that's really been kind of the secret sauce and where the knowledge has come into it. So you can kind of see our process flow across the top and the steps that we go through. We start with kind of storyboarding what exactly we're going to capture, what we're doing in the factory. We go in and actually capture the video. There's a process to kind of take each one of those cameras has 6 lenses on it. So every 3D 360 camera is actually recording 6 videos. So I've got to stitch each camera's video together, and then I've got to take my cameras in the different locations and stitch those together to kind of create my master video. So there's this process of kind of consolidating down the video. Then there's bringing all the work instructions and the data and the secondary information that allows us to then go back and create that full environment. There's a gamification of getting ready for, and then kind of the final platform delivery. The pictures along the bottom, I just want to point out, not every operator that we have wants to put on a headset. We will have some that will push back on headsets until the day they walk out the door. So being able to say it's only going in a headset is a deal killer for us. So there are other platforms, other ways to deliver this. We can put it on a desktop monitor. That 360-degree environment still exists. I'm just seeing a portion of it on my screen. So with the mouse, I can still maneuver myself around that 360-degree environment, and I just see a piece of it on my screen at any one time. But that's a very easy delivery mechanism for us. We can put it into portable headsets. I lose the ability to track and interact with it, but I can still capture that process. Now I'm just watching it more as a static observer like the football game, and I'm not able to interact with my other data. And then we've been putting desktop VR systems out into the manufacturing environment. So I have a workstation in the factory where maybe I have an operator that's on one line and test equipment's down, or I'm missing hardware and I want to move them somewhere else to an operation they haven't done in 6 months. And so they can pick up a headset and put it on and really refresh themselves on exactly what's going on, and they don't have to read through a 50-page work instruction or try and retain that. I hesitated to put metrics in here because it's really hard to get it cleared. So what we're seeing twofold in here. We're seeing a huge improvement in retention. So the ability to kind of be in the headset and see in that environment and understand the details of the assembly, and then step out to the factory floor and repeat it live. We are not qualifying or certifying operators with this system solely. We're using it as a precursor to what we're doing on the floor. But on the floor, we're seeing as much as a 50% compression in real-time training with hardware and trainers. So it's significantly reducing our training time on the floor. And that's where the big savings has been in it for us, in that trainer and one-on-one training. The last thing that I wanted to point out we're doing with this video is in the area of tours. So we benchmark a lot across industry. We've benchmarked with a lot of you guys. We have a ton of folks come out to Arizona. I work in the Missile Systems division of Raytheon. There's 4 different business units. We host 700 tours in our 4 main factories every year. 700 tours. It is millions of dollars in lost production time by the time we cover classified hardware, move operators, stage the factory, to bring folks through and showcase our automation and innovation and material handling solutions and all the cool things that we have going on. We have been challenged to cut that by 75 to 90%. From a leadership perspective, from the lost manufacturing time, we've just got to cut it out. So how do we still showcase our manufacturing environments without, oops, my video's not playing, oh, maybe it was playing. Can you back me up again? Sorry, guys. Do I have a backup button? All right, let's see if the video, nope. Okay, there we go. So now we've gone through 10 of our major factories, and we've got a robot that we can't put the camera on, and we've walked the tour path, and we've created a virtual tour. So we now have the ability in this Disneyland conference room that I referenced to bring people in, sit them down, put a headset on, and we can now tour them through all of our factories and showcase all of our great manufacturing stories, but we don't have to interrupt work on the factory floor. We even have the ability when they come to Tucson to show them our factories in Louisville and Camden and New Mexico, Scotland, Canada, and we can showcase them where different products are built while they're sitting in a room in Tucson, Arizona. One of the best benefits is now we have the ability, though, to put it in a headset and take it off site. So we have publicly released many of these tours, and we're able now to take them outside off campus to STEM events, to hiring events. We'd like to get to a point where I would love in our center to have 50 headsets that people could come in and check out and take home and show their children, this is where mom, dad work and what we do, because we have no bring your kids to work day. again, based on the nature of what we do. So it really has allowed us to take our great manufacturing story outside of the factory and share that and communicate it out. So with this 3D 360 video environment, we've been able to tackle both training of our manufacturing folks as well as showcasing our manufacturing story. All right, I wanted to leave a few minutes at the end for questions, if there are any.
Hi, my name is Andy Adams, and I'm at Chevron. Thanks for your presentation. I guess given that Raytheon's business is in defense and other things, what resources or possibly other vendors do you have to work with to get all this material together?
So one of the challenges that we've had is many of the solutions that are out there are cloud-based. And we've heard this before. Everything that we do has to be on-premise. I'm not taking any of my data and putting it up in the cloud for somebody else to post-produce. So it has led us to have to home grow some of these capabilities ourselves. We're also a Windows-based, iOS-based environment. So we have struggled, along with every other one of my Boeing and Lockheed friends here that I've talked with this week, to get Android-based devices into our factories. But it's just the nature of the beast of what we do. So I think getting devices approved and able to be managed really is the issue. And then being able to take the content, our sensitive content, and create it and get it into a platform where we are able to distribute it have probably been our two biggest challenges, which we've been successful at. It's just caused us to be a little more creative than if we went out and just bought a out-of-the-box solution.
There we go. Thanks. Hi, Bill Schaefer with Samsung, and I'm just curious about your comment that you made earlier about the response from your employees that they preferred the live-action video or the photorealistic video versus the versus kind of the virtually created or rendered environments. We get a lot of pushback because that's kind of our value proposition is, do it yourself, shoot with our video cameras, and that's a much quicker to market and at a lower cost. And I'm just curious as to, how you went about kind of gathering that data, or if you had any other additional comments on that sort of video versus 3D rendered?
Right. So I would say that the response has been a little bit more positive. People, in terms of being motion sick or sensitive or worried about being in an environment, the 360 video is a little bit easier than the model-based, Unity-based or Unreal-based environment. But there's a use case for everything, right? So we do a ton of assembly, model-based, put the hardware together, go through the work instructions, and that's all Unity-based for us. And there's application for that, and as we've seen the haptic technology in the gloves, as all that technology matures, it's gonna make it easier to virtually assemble products. The 360 video is really about exposure and orientation and awareness of what's going on in the factory. And so, again, targeted use cases, targeted places that we're using it. If I'm trying to raise awareness and understanding and orient someone to the space, the 360 video is great. If I want to watch them go through, build the car yourself, then I'm jumping back into the Unity or Unreal-based environment with Vive controllers. And there's value in that too. And we leverage both of those depending on what program and at what stage of development they're in. Thank you.